Hey, what's up guys? Radku here, back with another Yu-Gi-Oh video, and today is gonna hopefully be the start of a new series that I'm trying out. So I'm going to take every character, and I'm gonna try to make a different deck based off of their original deck. So I'm not exactly gonna do exactly what you think, like I'm not gonna, for Yugi, just make a Dark Magician deck, but I'm gonna take a different card from their deck and try to make a full-on deck or a better deck, depending on whether they actually had any decent cards to begin with. But hey, let's jump right into this. Today is going to be, of course, the first person we ever seen the show, Yugi. His deck is pretty trash. Like, I would say it's probably one of the worst decks I've ever seen. This is his initial deck from Duelist Kingdom, and I found this online. It's not exactly the most accurate, but it's close. So I'd say that his deck lacks any sort of consistency and any sort of actual genuine archetype, other than maybe the splash of Dark Magician with Dark Magician and Dark Magician Girl, and then you have some synergy down here with Mystic Box and stuff. But the problem with this deck is that it lacked any sort of decency. It didn't have an archetype, it didn't have anything special about it. It was just Monster Mash deck. So I decided to take one of Yugi's most powerful cards and turn it into a deck. Gaia the Fierce Knight. So Gaia was a 2300 beat stick the for tribute summons in the show. It's the same level as Dark Magician, so I don't know why they wouldn't just make it to where you only need to tribute one monster for a weaker monster. But they just recently released a ton of support for Gaia, and I know that I could make a great deck for it. So, without further ado, let's jump right into that. So, I did take the time to make a Gaia the Fierce Knight deck, and I will show it off right now. So I'd say that Gaia is probably one of Yugi's most memorable monsters. I wouldn't say that it's his second ace. I'd say his second ace is probably Summon Skull, but I'd say that this is behind that because Summon Skull doesn't actually have much of an archetype. It does, but its main deck isn't very good. Please ignore the background. Starting things off with a ton of new support, Gaias have become an actually really good deck and a pretty budget too, considering that most of the cards are in the common rarity. So starting things off, I play 3 copies of Gaia the Magical Knight. So basically, Gaia the Magical Knight is always treated as a Gaia the Fierce Knight monster, so you don't really have to worry about it not working the synergy with it for the archetype name. And then, if you control no monsters, or your opponent controls a monster with 2300 or more attack, you can normal summon this card without tributing. If this card is normal or special summoned, you can special summon one level 5 dragon monster from your hand or graveyard in defense position. Kinda wish this was from the deck, but the main thing about this deck is that it can use Curse of Dragon to go into your extra deck fusion monsters. Man, I live in a loud house. Then I play 2 copies of Guy the Fierce Knight Origin. Again, this is a Guy the Fierce Knight monster. So you can. This card is treated as 2 tributes, so you can summon out like your Lord, or if you can't meet the requirements for magical, you can summon it out with that. Then you can only use each effect once per turn. You can send one level 5 or higher monster from your hand to your graveyard, special summon this card from your hand. Then during the battle phase, quick effect, you can banish this card from your graveyard, then target one monster on the field whose current attack is different than its original attack. Its attack becomes its original attack. So kind of a convoluted effect, but this can definitely synergize with the deck because there are situations where you want to change its attack. So yeah, that can come up, but not very often. Then I play 1 copy of Lord Gaia the Fierce Knight. So If your opponent controls no monsters and you control no if your opponent controls a monster and you control no monsters, you can special summon this card from your hand. Then once per turn, if a monster with attack higher than this card is special summoned to your opponent's field, except during the damage step, you can make this card gain 700 attack until the end of the turn. So this can get it to some pretty high attack. We got huge beaters in the game now. We got like in casual formats, we got cards like Armatile, but that one doesn't have its attack. We got 10,000 Dragon. We got a lot of really powerful monsters, which can definitely trigger off Lord Gaia's effect. Plus, even in competitive formats, you can still have monsters that are way higher attack than it. Even higher than 3,000, which can definitely help trigger its effect. Then I play three copies of Curse of Dragons, the Cursed Dragon. This is basically Curse of Dragon, but better. Because the Curse of Dragon archetype and the Gaia the Fierce Knight archetype, had a lot of synergy in the original show because, they had a fusion monster together. But its effect is if this card is normally special summoned, you can add one spell or trap from your deck to your hand that specifically lists Gaia the Dragon Champion in its card text. So that means you could search your Spiral Fusion, which is probably one of your best cards in the deck. So then you can target one Gaia the Dragon Champion in your monster zone, negate the effects of all face-up monsters your opponent currently controls with attack less or equal to that card until the end of the turn. So on top of being a spell searcher, which remember there's synergy here, you can summon this, which allows you to summon this, which allows you to search this, which allows you to negate your opponent's effects. So there's a ton of consistent synergy there. And the fact is that it has a great effect on top of all that. Then I play two copies of Curse of Dragon Fire. This is basically just another level 5, but its effect is really good because it allows you to fusion summon without poly or any of your fusion spells. So this can really up the consistency of the deck, which means you don't need to waste your Spiral Fusion and you could just use Curse of Dragonfire. I decided to play two copies instead of the normal one copy because I wanted to up the consistency with my fusion monsters, as well as if I really want to, I can use Verte Anaconda and then use it to use Spiral Fusion from the deck, and then I could use Curse of Dragonfire closer to the end of the turn again, so I wouldn't have to consistently rely on one or the other. Then I play three copies of Artillery Catapult Turtle. This is a lot better than the initial Catapult Turtle and has great synergy with this deck. You contribute one monster, special summon one Gaia the Fierce Knight monster, or one level 5 dragon monster from your hand or deck. So this is better than all the Gaia the Fierce Knight monsters, and it's only on a level 4 body, which means that you could use cards like Lord Gaia to special summon, and then it's just free tribute fodder at that point. And then it's super consistent to be able to do anything to have a free special summon from the deck. Then I play three copies of Ash and three copies of Nibiru, because this deck can pretty consistently get over those Nibiru tokens. Plus, you got spot removal cards in the extra deck that can definitely help get rid of it. And then I play one copy of Monster Reborn, one Terraforming, one Set Rotation, and then I play two Pot of Avarice and two Pot of Extravagance. So these cards are pretty generic, because we do have two field spells you can use, Set Rotation, and they're two field spells that only work with this deck. So it's really good to be able to do that. Then Terraforming, of course, just to search it, and one Monster Reborn because it's Monster Reborn and this is a fusion deck. So even though this deck relies a lot on other summoning mechanics, it's mainly a fusion deck, which means that you can have a ton of materials in the graveyard. And then, of course, you don't need a ton of your extra deck, so extra can just banish a ton of stuff for free. And then you have Avarice because, again, this is a fusion deck. You can consistently use it. One Dragon Smear to fusion summon from the graveyard because your monsters are Dragon type. Three copies of Spiral Fusion. You can fusion summon from the extra deck using materials from your hand or field as fusion material. Then, if you special summon a Gaia the Dragon Champion by this effect, it gains 2600 attack. Also, it can attack twice. So this kind of reminds me of the Raviel hand trap that I did, or from the Sacred Beast deck yesterday, where it gains a ton of attack. Literally, it gains basically doubles its attack. And then it can attack multiple times, which is really, really good. Then I play three copies of Galloping Gaia. This is a field spell. Your opponent cannot activate cards or effects during the battle phase. Not exactly the most relevant, but while Gaia the Dragon Champion is in the monster zone, you can activate one of these following effects. You can reveal one Gaia the Fierce Knight monster in your hand, add one level 5 dragon monster from your deck to your hand, which can help you use your Spiral Fusion. You can reveal one level 5 monster in your hand, add one Gaia the Fierce Knight. So this is a great field spell. It can help search either side of your fusion material. Plus, if you're stuck in a situation, you could just search your Curse of Dragonfire if you don't have your Spiral Fusion, and then trigger off its effect to go into some plays. Then I play three copies of Gateway to Chaos. So this can help search a Blackluster Soldier Ritual monster or a Gaia the Fierce Knight monster from your deck, because they actually have some synergy together. The reason I didn't play a ton of the Gaia the Fierce Knight monsters was because they had too much synergy with BLS and didn't have any synergy with Gaia itself. So yeah, this is a good field spell. It can definitely help search your cards, and it's got some decent stuff on it, but it's mainly for BLS. You kind of just want to have two field spells in your hand, and call it a day, because you can activate Gateway to Chaos to search your card, then activate Gaia, or Galloping Gaia to send this to the graveyard, and then activate it. So Gateway to Chaos, just a single time searcher, definitely really good. Then I play three copies of Spiral Spear Strike. So this card allows Gaias to inflict piercing damage, which isn't good but by itself, but its second effect, you can draw two cards and then discard one, which can be huge when you're trying to gain advantage. And then that's it for the main deck. I'd say Yugi would be able to utilize this well, except for the fact that he doesn't play hand traps or good cards. So um, I doubt he would use this deck because he doesn't play more than one copy of any of his cards. But I think this is like one of the best Gaia decks that you could use. Then I play, for the extra deck, three copies of Gaia the Magical Knight of Dragons. This is definitely generic. This card's name becomes Gaia the Dragon Champion, and then you can only use the following effects once per turn. During your main phase, or during the main phase, quick effect, you can target one other card on the field. This card loses 2600 attack, and if you do, destroy that card. When this card destroys an opponent's monster by battle, you can make it gain 2600 attack. So, you have cards like Spiral Fusion, which allows you to fusion summon your Magical Knight, or Magical Knight, and then it gains 2600 attack and can attack twice. So you can use its effect to destroy other monsters, or use its 5100 attack to, or 5200 attack to just destroy your opponent by attacking them twice, and then it gains 2600 attack every time it attacks. So you're going to be attacking what's a big monster. Then I play three copies of Sky Galloping Gaia the Dragon Champion. This card's name becomes the Dragon Champion while it's on the field. If this card is special summoned, you can add one Spiral Spear Strike from your deck to your hand, or graveyard to your hand. When this card declares an attack on your opponent's monster, you can change the battle position of that monster. So you're always going to summon this card with Spiral Spear, or Spiral Fusion, or you're gonna fusion summon it with this, but that doesn't really matter, because if you can renew this, you can have a ton of draw spells, or you can draw a ton of stuff so that you can add more fusion spells to your hand, which can greatly up the consistency of the deck. So for the Xyz monsters, which Gaia has one Xyz monster, one Gaia, the Thunder Charger, it's not exactly good, but I kind of just kept it in here as a spot holder. It can inflict piercing battle damage. This can go along with a Spiral Spear Strike, but all your monsters already gain that effect, so it doesn't really matter. Um, then I play two copies of Red Eye's Flare Metal Dragon. This deck has a lot of consistency with level 7 monsters, and one of my Red Eyes deck profile that I did a few days ago, it was mainly Flare Metal Turbo, because this card is great. It's got great burn damage effects, and it's pretty easy to get on the field, all things considered. Then I play, for the Link monsters, one Boral Sword. I played one Gaia Saber, the Lightning Shadow. Even though it's not very good, it's got the Gaia name. I kind of just put it in here as a spot holder too, because it's so cool looking. One copy of Verte, because you can use Spiral Fusion from your deck. Then I play the Nightmare lineup, one Nightmare Phoenix, one Nightmare Unicorn, and one Nightmare Cerberus. And yeah, that's pretty much it. The deck is very powerful, and I'd say that you'd be able to consistently put out some powerful boards. And there's a lot of synergy here with multiple archetypes that didn't used to actually be archetypes. And I'd say that if Yugi was to play this deck, he'd lack the skill to do anything with it. But that comparing this to this, a deck with no synergy, no draw spells. He did play Pot of Greed, but it's banned, so I decided not to play it. And then everything about this deck lacks consistency. While this deck has draw spells, has hand traps to slow down your opponent. Like, imagine like the shock on every competitive player's face when Yugi is against Kaiba in the Battle City Finals, and he pops down a Nibiru on his Egyptian god, and it's like, bye bye. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the video. Please like, subscribe, share, comment, let me know what you thought, and let me know if there's anything you would change about the deck specifically. Do you think this series is a good idea? Because, like, Kaiba could do one, like, I could do a virus set for, Kaiba, or I could do, I don't know what Joey's deck is. It's more of a warrior deck. So I could see what I could do with that. And tell me what you thought of the series in general. And I will see you in the next Yu-Gi-Oh video. Peace, guys.